Hey, thanks for joining us on this Coffee with Closers episode with a good friend of mine, Tim Knox. Now, this one's a little different because this one we don't really dig into a lot of deals, but we're talking about the power of social media. And this is so important to find deals. And so I really wanted to start this off with our interview with Tim over a cup of coffee. And the information that he shares is kind of mind-blowing. He's been a brand builder and social media expert for over 28 years. He's done over $32 million in the last 18 months as a brand new real estate brokerage using these social media techniques and branding. And some of the things that he talks about that you want to pay attention to is what it takes to really build a local brand for real estate investors and what's behind the making of a successful brand. He also digs into where is your audience? Like, who are you targeting? What type of sellers are you targeting? What type of buyers are you targeting? And another big factor is he digs into how important content is. And you may not understand that, but when you're in the real estate space and you're looking to find deals, it's not always about how low can the offer go, but it's about building relationships using content. And that starts to build a community of raving fans that are selling you houses. And so I want you to roll up your sleeves and dig in so that we can start this interview with Tim Knox. So I hope you enjoy this one. Here we go. Welcome to the Coffee with Closers show, where we interview real investors that are doing real deals in this current market, about how they are finding, funding, and flipping the deals. We talk about what they are doing that is working and the things they did that didn't work so that you can save time and money as you become a real investor. Welcome to the Coffee with Closers show. Hey everyone, it's Zack Childress here. Welcome to our Coffee with Closers. I've got my good friend Tim Knox here, having a cup of coffee this morning.
Thank you, sir.
I got my Rhino coffee cup going here.
I've got my sorry I'm late, I didn't want to come.
Well, I appreciate you coming anyways, though.
Appreciate the cup.
So today's show is really, we're going to be digging into a few things with Tim, and I've got some very specific questions for him when it comes to what you're known for, because when people think of Tim Knox, they think of Revolve Realty, like they think of it as one. Right. Revolve and Tim are one, and you guys came literally out of nowhere. And I like to tell people when they ask, and I say, look, just look at Revolve Realty, because what they were able to do is a direct reflection of your past history and all the things that you've been learning over we won't go into how long.
A couple of years, a 3 decades.
So I want to share with the viewers a little bit first about who is Tim, right? Like, we see your face, we see your videos, you're running around here selling houses like crazy, but how did Tim get started? I mean, you weren't in real estate.
No, I wasn't. Actually, I was an entrepreneur for about 30 years and had a variety of businesses. I was in the software business. I was really big in the dot-com boom and bust days, had software companies, did a lot of different kinds of business. I had a marketing company for a while. I owned gun stores for a while. And so my theory was anything for a buck, and that's kind of what I did. But the common thread through all of that was I was always a marketer.
Right.
I did not go to college. I didn't take courses. I just knew how to market.
You mean you didn't get a master's at Pepperdine?
You know what? I drove by a college once. It looked really hard, man. I'm like,
that's a good point because when we think of entrepreneurship, we think of a lot of different things, right? A lot of people think, oh, that's hard, that's risky, that's scary. And then there's the other side, right? That just says, hey, look, there's a much easier way to go out here and make money and be in control of my time, my energy, my life.
Yeah.
And I refer to it as being more of a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, and that's what I am, what I was. I serially had companies for like 30 years. But again, the big thing that I learned early on was if you've got a company, you don't have a company without customers.
Oh, true.
And you can't reach customers unless you know how to market to them. And that's I kind of became a student of marketing, read books, and back in the old days, listened to cassette tapes, and just got really, really good at it.
So let's talk about that. So 30 years ago, you woke up one day and said, you know what? I'm sick of corporate America. I'm sick of chasing a paycheck. I just want to go start my own business.
Yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur.
Okay,
I mean, since I was a little, my background is I came from a really dirt poor family. I mean, we weren't white trash. We were off white trash. That's how poor we were. And so, honestly, school and college never mentioned in my family.
Right.
I mean, the mentality was you go find yourself a good job and you hang on to it for dear life until you die.
Right.
And so because of that, there's no college, so the opportunities were somewhat limited.
Right.
So as a result, I have my brother, probably a half dozen cousins, all really successful entrepreneurs.
Right.
So with me, I did have the ability to draw. And this is very important to the story because this was the late 70s, early 80s, back in the dark ages. Okay. And so I was able to get a job with Boeing as an illustrator, literally sitting at a drawing board doing battle scenes. I drew comic books for a living for Boeing.
Really?
And so, so I thought, wow, I've hit the jackpot. I've got a great corporate job. But always in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't really groove on this. And so I started doing little side projects, designing logos, doing presentations. And after, about 7 or 8 years with Boeing, I actually quit and started my first company and just kind of went from there.
So talk to us about that, because I know some people are looking at real estate, and most of the people watching this are in real estate. It's scary. Because I remember when I quit my not my first job, my 40th job, but I quit it to go all in on my own business.
Right.
So let's talk about that.
Sure.
I mean, you're talking in the 70s, right?
Well, it was early 80s, 82,
Okay.
83.
So early 80s, you say, you know what? I'm walking away from an extremely well-known company to go off on my own.
Yep.
What was that feeling like?
It was scary as hell.
Yeah.
But it was exhilarating. Now, here's what I did. I did it the wrong way the first time.
Okay.
I got it through my head that I was going to start. It was a graphics company. There were no computers then.
Right.
I mean, literally everything was done on the drawing board. And so I literally one day just went in and quit and said, I'm going to start this business. Well, 3 months later, after failing, I went back and my boss at Boeing was kind enough to give me my job back.
Okay.
And I did kind of an autopsy on why I failed. And the reason was I didn't have a clue what I was doing.
Yep.
I was not prepared. I hadn't thought about things like marketing and customer acquisition and how I was going to feed myself.
And you didn't have anybody saying, hey, look, I'm going to show you how to go.
I had no mentors. I had nothing.
Right.
So what I did was that's when I became a student of business. For the next year or so on Boeing's nickel, I spent every moment I wasn't working learning about business, entrepreneurship, accounting, marketing, sales, everything that I didn't know about, I learned about. Right. And so when I finally did go back, I started part-time. I kept my day job. I would do gigs at night. And when I finally got to the point where my night gigs could replace my full-time job, that's when I quit and I never went back.
That's great, because I say it a lot as a coach myself. People sit down and they'll say, Zack, what do I need to do just to quit my job? I hate my job. And I always say, but don't quit it yet. Like, you don't even know enough over here to run that way.
Exactly, yeah.
And I also say this to them. I'm like, it's a stream of income. Like, why would you just cut off the stream of income?
Yeah. Well, I see that a lot in real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, I meet with investors all the time. I meet with guys that want to go in and do wholesale. I mean, you can't swing a stick without hitting the wholesaler now, right?
Right. That's true.
He's standing next to 5 realtors and 3 mortgage guys.
Right.
But they're like, their main goal, the question they're asking me is how do I get out of this and go do my full-time gig? Well, there is no pat answer.
Right.
It is a process.
Right,
You start don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
Especially
in real estate,
Well,
because how do you
really?
the banks are the cheapest money you can borrow, and they're not going to let you walk in and you go, I don't have a job.
Yeah. Well, I talk a lot about the failure rate in real estate with agents. 90% of agents wash out within 18 months.
Oh, wow.
And I think one of the reasons is they're not prepared.
Yeah.
They don't realize that this is a long play. Yeah. You're not going to get your real estate license today, or you're not going to start wholesaling today and be rich tomorrow and quit your job. 100%. And so I think that's why the failure rate is so high.
Wholesalers, it's been documented and explained in many of the conferences I've been to that a wholesaler's life is 3 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. Because they think it's like, I'm just going to go in and start making $100,000 a year. Yeah. And it is a grind. Yeah. It's a hustle, a grind every day. So,
yeah. And that's why you need to do things to stand out.
Yes.
Hence the marketing.
Hence why we're talking about
How'd you like that segue?
I do. That gets us
right?
back on track. So now we're in the early 80s with Tim. You're drawing, you're restudying, you're realizing, look, and this is the other thing I like what you said. You didn't fail and go back to a job and say, you know what, I don't want to do that again. You said, I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
I need to get better information. I need to know what's going on. I'm going to go do it again.
Yeah, I literally learned the lesson that just because you build it doesn't mean they're going to come.
Right.
You know, and that was it. Like I said, I did an autopsy of my failure.
Yep.
Why did I fail?
Yep.
And it was really clear. Number one, I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yep.
I didn't know how to. I couldn't find customers. I didn't know how to find customers.
Right. That's
you got to remember, this was back before the internets.
Yes.
There was no interweb.
You mean Al Gore hadn't invented
back
the
then
internet?
it was print some brochures and go knock doors and do this, and this.
But people today still have that same philosophy. I had a friend of mine down in Montgomery. They were going to open a Jamba Juice store. And I sat down with them, and I've known them forever. And I said, well, what's your marketing plan? They said, we're in the strip mall. We're next to a gym. I'm like, okay, that's great, but what's your marketing plan?
Right.
Like, what are you going to do for marketing? How are you going to bring customers back? Yeah. There's a guy, I love watching this guy. He does the bar rescue.
Yeah. Tapper,
yeah. He said a statistic that was amazing, and it said, look, if you can get a customer to come back to your business 3 times, the guarantee they'll come more than 4 is like 75%. But you got to get them in the door 3 times. Yep. And he said, so the goal isn't make them happy the first time. The goal is to make them happy on the 4th time to get them back. Yeah. Now, hence this. I go out to dinner. Guys, listen to this. I go out to dinner with my kids last night at Outback, and on the card that you put your coaster, you put your drink on, I flipped it over and it said 50% off all meals and drinks on 4th visit.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I was like, there it is. There it is. So it's not just acquiring them. Yeah. It's getting them to be repeat customers, right? Yep. So in your journey, you realized marketing was it. I had to get out and do marketing. And yes, that was a time when we didn't have access to
marketing was hard back then.
Yeah. So then talk me into the part like where you got into branding.
It was really about that time because I learned the power of a logo. And I learned the power of not just visual branding, but there's all different kinds of branding. You know, I can look at your REI Success Academy logo and I think that's really cool, but what does it mean?
Right.
You know, that's one of the ways that a lot of people drop the ball is they don't understand that there has to be a meaning behind branding. Right. So, especially with me being in the graphic arts, designing logos for a living, I quickly understand the meaning of branding and why you do Visual stimulation. Right. And I think it's like now, you know, I probably post 100 pictures of revolved green signs every week.
Yes, you do.
And people immediately recognize those signs now.
The green monsters.
The green machine monster signs. Yeah. And it's kind of they call it branding because it's like taking a branding iron and just burning it into your brain. Yep. And that's what you have to do. You've got to come up with good visuals that you can then back up with a message.
So let me ask you this, because you know, I'm big on the name of operations, right? Yeah. And so I tell students, I'll say, okay, well, what's the name of your company? Oh, it's MRJ Solution Homes. Yeah. I'm like, but what does that mean to me? Yeah. What does that mean to me? Oh, that's the initials to my kids. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know that when I'm reading it. Right. So are you going to put that on all your marketing pieces? Because it doesn't work, right? Like I have Huntsville House Buyer. It's very clear what that name does. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, well, that's a good point because I see a lot like PRG Enterprises.
Yeah.
Or, you know, all of this stuff. I mean, when I was in the gun business, the name of my store was Madison Guns. Okay. But on the front of my store, in big 3-foot letters, was just GUNS. guns.
Yeah.
This is what we do. There's no doubt what
Right.
we're going to do.
They drive by, they know.
They drive by, they know. It doesn't have to be Madison Guns. As long
Right.
as they see guns, they can see the logo when they walk in the door.
No, I agree with that. And that's the same concept on the logo. So that's how you kind of dived into branding. You
Yeah.
realize like, hey, look, I need something that's going to stand out. I need to be different. I need a big brand. And you've been doing branding now for how long?
Gosh, 20 plus years.
20 plus
yeah,
years.
because after my progression was I started out with a graphic design company. And then when the internet came around,
Yep.
I took a look at what was going on, and I realized, well, you know what? These PowerPoint presentations I've been building are websites. Yeah. So I started a company called Digital Graffiti. We were the first website design company north of Birmingham.
Wow.
And we were right place, right time,
Yeah.
and we got everybody's business.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it just, and the name of that was actually a study in how to do it, because the name was Digital Graffiti. And it wasn't graffiti with two F's, it was graffiti like graph and then ED. But anyway, it meant electronic art, digital graffiti.
Yeah.
And that, even that weird name, it got to the point where everybody knew what digital graffiti was in this town. So I was really early in web design, and then that morphed us into software. We were doing, online retail systems way before Amazon came out.
Wow.
We did the City of Huntsville ticket payment system. Funny story, I got a ticket the morning we launched that. And no, I didn't go in and fix it, although I could have. But we morphed into software, and then that got us into internet marketing. And that's really when the branding and marketing kicked in. So anyway, that was the progression, and that getting into the internet marketing is what really got us heavy into that. Yeah.
Before you go there, let's stay on the branding for a minute.
Sure.
So you go out, you realize, and here's the thing. I think a lot of people realize brand is powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
you see the check mark, you see Coke, you see these things, right?
Yeah.
We see the R's in the green. We know Revolved, right? Like you've done an amazing job at that. Mm-hmm. But the brand itself doesn't really help you if you can't get people to see it.
Well, that's exactly right.
So that's where you have to be able to power of the brand, which you have 20 plus years in. But then somewhere along that journey, you got onto the social media wagon.
Yeah, early,
right?
Yeah.
Like super early. And so walk me through that, because look, early adopters are sometimes shunned on, sometimes they're laughed at, sometimes they're like, oh, it's a fad, you're crazy, no one's going to follow you there. And look, at the rate we're going now with social media, like, Facebook's now becoming the older generation. And we're moving to YouTube, and we're moving to TikTok, and we're moving to Twitter, all these different things. And it's like, you got to be moving with this. And some of let's say our fine wine generation, like they still don't see it as a tool. So walk me through that.
Yeah.
So
here's what's always been my first key in marketing and branding. Where is the audience?
Right.
Is there an audience?
Right.
And if there is an audience, where is that audience, and how do we reach them? Because again, you could have the greatest, coolest brand on the planet, but if nobody ever sees it, you're not going to sell anything.
True.
So I can remember when the internet, when we got in early, we were doing websites. Back then, you were trying to drive all your traffic to your website.
Right. No opt-in pages.
There were no opt-in pages. There were no social networks. It was all about buying Google, SEO, trying to get folks over there
to the page. And there was no like retargeting or tracking.
There was none of that back then. None of that at all. And so when, that started to change, MySpace came in early. I remember when Facebook first came out, everybody thought it was just for kids. But, when you think about where your audience is, what are their habits? Where are they going? Are they all piling on this particular social platform? If so, you need to kind of go over there and become an expert in that.
Yeah, and hold on one second. I want to make sure everybody hears this. Is when you say audience, we don't just mean a large pool of people.
No.
We mean a targeted audience.
We mean people who, number one, have an interest in what you have to sell and have the money to buy it and are ready to buy.
Yes. And that is what we classify in our world as who is our avatar.
Yeah.
So we say avatar. We even use the word avatar in our property types, right? Like this is the avatar of property we want to buy in this zip code.
Right.
This is the avatar of buyer that we're looking to sell properties to. So in that avatar, there's a lot of ways to dissect that, right? Like Is it heavy female? Is it heavy male avatar? Is there a certain age range?
Right.
Do they live in a certain demographic? What's their financial capability, like you said?
And see, that's the problem there that a lot of entrepreneurs don't whittle down to.
That's true.
They do the if I ask you, okay, if you're a real estate agent,
right?
Who are you serving? Well, anybody with a house to buy or sell. Okay, that you need to narrow that down a little bit. They don't ask the questions. There's a great book I think John Miller wrote. It's called QBQ, Question Behind the Question.
Let me write that down.
And yeah, it's a great book because it teaches you to really go deeper into something. Why are you asking that question? What's the real reason? What's behind it? That sort of thing. So if I'm a wholesaler, for example, and I say, well, okay, you're a wholesaler. Who is your avatar? Well, anybody that I can get a cheap house from.
Right.
Okay, you need to whittle it down a little more. Like for me, for example, I primarily am a listing agent. Buyers are great. I deal primarily with listers, and I deal primarily with listings in my demographic. Married couple, 40 to 65, this income range, this house. That is I can get it right down to that sort of thing. So you can't be everything to all people.
True.
Because if you try that, it's just too broad an approach. Yeah. And if you try to brand a message to that many people, it's going to fail.
True.
Because not everybody cares how cool your logo is or what you do or this sort of thing. It comes down to who are you going to serve and how do you serve them.
No, I agree with that. I think that's actually really good information for everybody to listen to when you talk about branding. So then you started adopting the social media before it was cool.
Yeah.
And then from there, did you realize it was going to be a great marketing tool, or did you just say, hey, look, I think this has got legs. I just want to play around with it?
In my mind, anywhere there's a lot of people, there's a marketing opportunity.
Right.
So, it's really funny. You know how every day your Facebook memory wall pops up? Yeah. I've got memories from 10, 15. I mean, literally, I was one of the early ones on. Same way with YouTube. I've been on YouTube since, 2005, 6, something like that. Wow. And so I was an early adopter. And it always starts out with me because if I see a tech like this, I'm like, let me go look at that. Right. What's that going to be like? And let me get in there and play and participate. And so I literally, when I got onto Facebook, it was not what it is today.
No.
But I really quickly figured out that it was a great place to network and hang out and really build relationships before you start building sales funnels off of it. So, if you look at where Facebook is to now, you're right. I mean, it's primarily an old fuddy-duddy, but still, that's 1 billion people, I think, that are on there.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, we know the avatar that we target is on Facebook. I mean, so it works for us. So, and we also know that avatar is on YouTube as well. Yeah. Here's a funny one for you. So, in 2009, 2010, I came out with a course called Social Branding Optimization. And it was all around MySpace, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and how to use that in the real estate space to brand yourself.
Right.
We just dug up. We were going through some shelves and I found this box. I was oh my goodness.
That's funny.
I was like, I was way ahead of my curve back then because people just didn't understand the power of it 10 years. And we're talking a decade ago. Like they were like, what is this? Like, is this really going to be anything?
If you look at the progression of the internet, it started out early. We all had websites. Well, then here comes Amazon and eBay. And I was an earlier adopter in eBay. I used to sell a course called, how to make money on eBay.
There you go.
I've still got it in boxes somewhere. But there was no social element to it.
Right.
It was just e-commerce. And then e-commerce, you started getting the forums, and which primarily started out as a place for people to bitch. But then the forums gave way to the whole social networking thing. And then MySpace was born out of that, and then Facebook. The big one now is Instagram. And honestly, I don't do anything on Instagram because my avatar's not there.
Well, and we're figuring out Instagram right now.
It's still early.
We're spending money on it, and we're identifying some things, and what we're realizing is there is a niche there that we can tap into.
Well, they say Instagram and Pinterest are the new social media networks that are really going to drive commerce.
I agree.
Pinterest especially.
And I
but it depends on who your avatar is. Are they on Pinterest?
And that's the same thing with YouTube right now. It is absolutely turned into a huge e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
If people know how to use it, right? But talking about social media, so you leaned in on social media, you started dialing it in, using it to get your brand out, using it to establish a marketing lead. One of the things that I want to talk about is there was an evolution in social media. And I think it really caught on about 5, maybe 6 years ago, where social media kind of moved away from, hey, just come here and post about your world, to where business owners stepped in and said, look, I want to create a community. And social media leaned in on that. Do you see, when that evolution happened, did you lean more on the community aspect of it, or just the outreach of it to brand your business?
No, I did a little bit of both.
Okay.
When that started happening, what I did was, early on, I've always been a content creator. When I had my gun stores back, 10 years ago now, we created videos to put on this new platform called Facebook. So if you go on my Facebook, you can go back 10 years and see it was gun talk. It was this kind of thing with guns laying everywhere.
That's cool.
So I've always been really heavy on the content creation. So that's all part of my branding. And then what I do is I try to create conversations around my branding. Meaning, hey, look at this great house that I have for sale. Here's pictures of the house. Here's a video. Here's the green sign. Let's talk about this house. And I try to stimulate the conversation, because that's what stimulates interest in my mind. If you've got something to sell, you've got to get people interested. But rather than just going, hey, buy my stuff, let's become friends. Let's build a relationship. I think it's very important in branding that your audience come to see you as the authority. Like you. If this guy is selling this, what's his qualifications? Wow, he knows what he's talking about. And then you're really good at creating a not just a network, but an audience of people who actually listen to you and care what you have to say, and you let them talk back. That's the big part of this
I think that's
thing is
important.
interaction.
Because see, I was part of that 5-6 years ago, community driven, right? Like I about 6 years ago, I identified, like, look, social media is great for me selling properties, finding buyers, finding motivated sellers, and also to get my message out there on how other people can change their lives. And what I identified was that community, the content side, right? I mean, I got thousands of hours of it, and I leaned heavy in on that. And what I also noticed about the community world is the more that they get to talk, the more that community grows.
Well, see, that's the good thing, is if you get them talking about you in a positive way, right? Because, the old thing, people, if you say something, people will look at you with doubt, but if someone else says the same thing about you, they look at with confidence. And so that's all a part of getting those relationships going. It's developing a tribe of raving fans. And that's really what helps build the brand, is if other people are talking about and bragging about your brand, that's where the building comes in. You can talk about it all day long, but the goal is to get other people, get a tribe going.
So tell me this, what was the very first thing that you ever did on marketing in social media? What was the very first thing you marketed?
I really went in heavy with the gun stores. Okay, I had 2 gun stores.
And you were marketing to come to the store?
Because you couldn't just come on and say, hey,
buy a gun on Facebook.
So, what we did was, of course, we did the usual stuff like, hey, we're having a sale Friday, we're doing this.
Shout outs.
But really the content, doing the videos was huge. We would do like gun reviews. The guy that was my general manager was just a gun nut. He could tell you anything and everything you want.
So you were just letting him talk.
I just signed the checks. You know what? I really was not a gun enthusiast. I saw a hole in the market. That's why we started the business. But getting people involved. Asking them, hey, what do you think about this gun? Leave your comment below.
Well,
and that's what we did to drive it.
I think you were ahead of the curve there, because I think that's where everybody started catching on the last 3 to 4 years, right? They were like, look, there's a whole audience out there that don't know us. And how do we get them to know us? We just start sharing information about what we do and how to do it. And it almost changed, if you think about it. There's a great book a friend of mine, Brian, wrote, and it was called Nothing for Sale. And it's behind the concept of like, look, people want to, sell you their house or buy a house from you, but they don't know you. So you got to just give information. You got to give information. You got to tell them how they could go sell it on their own. But here's the downfalls if you do.
Right. Well, you're kind of giving them content, but along the way you're kind of sliding in a little, But that's what we do on my videos. I do different videos, but some are aimed at buyers, some are aimed at sellers. Some of it is just general information. But and I always say, hey, if I can do anything for you, give me a call. Give me a call. But I'm not pounding on the desk saying buy, call me. People don't want to hear that.
No, I understand.
And people call me because they've seen my videos, they feel like they know me. That goes back to that establishing that relationship. But that's also a big part of branding. Branding, right. You're not just branding your logo or your company. The first thing you're selling is you. Yeah. Absolutely. And so you've got to brand that, and it's not so much a visual, but what is it do they think of when they look at you? Right. And
we see that important. At our local RIA. Like people will come in, they'll go, "Oh, you're the guy on Facebook," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I got videos on Facebook."
Yeah, and that's great. And that happens to me. I do a thing called my ride and rant. Yeah. And I just get in the car, and I had a guy come up to me at Logan's one day and go, "Hey, you're that driving and bitching guy." And I went, "Yes, I am. Thank you for noticing," So, but that was the brand that's what he got out of it, but it was really funny. So.
All right. Let's move on to something else. So we've talked about when you got into branding. We talked about how you moved into social media and started doing that. How do you think that it's helped your real estate business, though? Because you got involved and really said, look, I love this Revolved idea. I'm going to run full force with this. What? 18 months ago?
18 months ago, yeah.
Okay, so what would you say, how has social media marketing influenced, built, or helped Revolve?
I have built this entire business on social media. Okay. Completely. And what I did from day one is I just started with the visuals and the videos and the photos. And I would just, I would post it 20 times a day. I am that obnoxious Facebook guy. I've got my personal page where we do dog rescue. Most of it's dogs, and I do a lot of funny stuff. And then we've got the Revolved page. But every opportunity, every time I stuck a sign in the ground, I'd take a picture from both sides and post it. And I really started building it that way. We took that Revolved company page from 0 to 5,000 likes or followers in less than a year. Oh, wow. And what I did was I used all my other pages to help promote. If I put something on Revolved, I would then share that out to my personal page. I would tag everybody and their mother, as you know, because I wanted it showing up. And that's really how we started it. When I would go in there and post something and tag someone, if they added, let the tag fly and go to their page, well, that was a whole new audience seeing things. So
it posts automatically if they don't have the setting to say confirm.
And so what we did was, I was always a big fan of video. So we would do 1 or 2 videos a week. We did a live show every Friday. We were really out there and in your face, but it was good stuff. It was content that they weren't getting anywhere else. And so,
because I called on to you guys last year.
Right.
Towards the end of last year, I was like, who are these guys? Where did these guys come from? Boom, all of a sudden you're everywhere.
And this again, the thing is, you're everywhere. Every time someone
goes in, the Omni effect.
That's it. Every time someone goes to their news feed, well, there's a green sign, or there's Tim in his car talking, or there's Tim at a house, or here's a house, or here's a dog. You throw in a dog every now and then.
So answer me this, because I know that, look, there's people out there that want this type of Omni effect, right? Sure. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to learn how to be everywhere, and social media helps us do that. But what about the person that's just not maybe as witty as you, or maybe as, aren't constantly remembering, oh, I'm looking at a house, let me take a picture. Oh, I'm doing this, let me remind to do a video here. What about that person? Like, what would you say to that person?
You don't have to be a big personality. You and I are both big personalities. And we're just like this in real life, See,
but knock it out.
the thing about it is not everybody is us. Okay, but still, you can turn on your cell phone and talk into your cell phone.
Right.
You don't have to tell jokes and sing and dance and that sort of thing. The picture side is easy. There's nothing. You can produce a whole movie on this thing now. They do it. So you've got to put forth a conscious effort. take as many pictures as you can. One of the things that I like to do is post helpful information.
Yeah.
Even if you have nothing to say.
If it's a repost.
If you find a post on a website or a video, I'm always posting other people's videos.
Yeah.
Because I find them informative.
Yeah.
But I always say, hey, here's a great video from Zack on investing in real estate. By the way, if I can do anything for you, here's my phone number.
Right.
So what you do is you're actually repurposing other people's content.
Yes.
And I tell my agents this because I've got some agents that just won't do videos. They're just not comfortable.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, look, share my videos, but make a comment.
Yeah.
And then put a call to action and your phone number. That way you don't have to do those videos, but you're like, hey, here's Tim talking about the 3 things you should do before you start looking for a home. By the way, if you need help, blah, blah, blah. So if you're not comfortable making your own content, you can repurpose a ton of content. Yeah. But you don't make it your own, but you comment on it, you recommend it, and then you put your contact information.
No, I think that's money.
Boom.
I think it is, because I think that solves a problem for people, right? And repurposing content is the number one way to keep sharing, to keep in front of people. And like you said, hey, if you like this and you need help in real estate, just let me know. If you need to sell, I think that's great. I mean, you've shared a lot of good things with that. Here's the good news. You're going to be at RIA next month. I am. November 7th, I believe it is. 7th? First Thursday.
Okay.
Is that right?
I don't know.
I don't want to mislead people.
I don't know either. I figured you'd tell me when to show up.
Yeah, exactly. November 7th.
Okay.
So you're going to come in and talk a little bit about on social media marketing and kind of a little bit more. I know we dug into a lot of your past and what, but you're going to talk a little bit more.
How exciting has it been?
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
But you're going to talk a little bit about some strategies and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I know you don't have a lot of time at the RIA, but you're going to be at our 3-day event, 2 sessions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just told you that.
Wow, good to know.
Well, because Tim's going to be at the 3-day, and you're going to be talking about realtor investor relationships, how to work with an agent, how agents work with realtors, but you're also going to do another session on digging more into social media marketing.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's great. So if you guys like this, share this video, let other people understand marketing, come out to the monthly meeting, see Tim on November 7th, and he'll be at our 3-day event. So there'll be links in the description. But before I go, I got to fire off some questions at you.
All right.
Favorite vacation place?
Destin, Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Favorite food?
You want a brand or just a food?
Favorite food?
I'm a big hamburger guy.
Hamburger
Love
guy.
them, yeah.
Hamburger guy. Favorite animal?
Dogs.
I met one of your dogs.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite influencer?
Gosh, there are several, but it just depends on,
business in general.
Business in general,
marketing.
Everybody points to Gary V. Me not so much. He just kind of gets on my nerves. Although the guy is brilliant. He's got some good information. He's got some great information. Yeah, his early stuff is really, really good because he did. He was in early too. But I don't really have a favorite. There are just so many out there that.
What about your favorite podcast?
My favorite podcast. What's your podcast?
Real Estate Talk.
Real Estate Talk, as a matter of fact, is my favorite. I honestly, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I absorb a ton of videos. If I get interested in a topic, like if you go look at my YouTube subscription list, there are probably 30 real estate related channels on there. Yours being one of them. 18 months ago, I didn't have any of those. It was all marketing and business. And that's one of the things that you need to do is when I get interested in something, I dive in and I learn everything I am. And I'm a big watcher of videos. I like what you're doing. Bigger Pockets is great, of course. Everybody and their mother has a video now. But I like to watch like the New York $1 million real estate guys. Just to see.
Get some ideas.
Just thank God I'm here and not in New York.
I know, right?
But I really like the practical stuff. I know Cody Sperber has a great channel. There's a number of them.
I like a lot of the business guys, like systems processes. I like Tafford. I like the other guy, Marcus Malone or Mahone.
I really like the guys that are really doing it. I don't really care much for the guys that just talk about it.
Or used to do it, don't do it anymore.
Well, I had a business once, but now I tell other people. It's like, same way in real estate. The top real estate coaches never sold a house in their life.
Right.
But what are you going to do?
All right, favorite season of the year?
I'm a big lover of spring.
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 I'm a fall guy.
See, everything looks dead to me in
But
fall.
the
I like
weather, I
spring.
love the coolness.
Yeah.
Favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday, Christmas, especially now that I got a grandson to spoil.
That's right.
Yeah.
You do.
Yep.
That makes Christmas all back enjoyable
It does,
again,
yep.
right?
Yep.
Get to experience the whole new thing.
Yeah. Now
That's
that I got
awesome.
kids, yeah,
That's awesome.
little ones.
So, Tim, I appreciate you being on here,
bet, man. Anytime.
I love getting to pick your brain. You got some cool stuff up
Slim
there.
pickings some
That's
days.
okay, but I know what to pick.
There you go. You know what's left.
Right. Anyways, guys, Coffee with Closer with Mr. Tim Knox.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
If you guys want to catch more of him, he'll be at our RIA on November 7th and our 3-day, November 15th, 16th, and 17th. Check the description. There's a link in there. You guys can come out and get to shake his hand and meet him and tell him what a good job he's done over the years. So
How exciting it will be to meet me.
thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate you
Appreciate
being
it,
here.
dude.
Bye. See you guys.